What is going on, everyone? This is the Fantasy Aces podcast. I'm your host, Joe Bevilacqua, and I do not want to be a Falcons fan anymore. And with me, we have Nate Holleran and Sonny Chowdhury. Guys, great episode today. We got a lot of topics going in week 3. Disappointing week, though, with all these injuries that we got to get to. But topics we're going to discuss today is fantasy remedies, a plague of injuries this past week, and we're going to offer some advice on how to approach this, especially through the waiver wire. We're going to do some starts and sits for week 3, and then streamers in fantasy right now, those risers in the league, the guys you feel comfortable with right now. But to start it off, Nate, how you doing, my man?
Not doing good. I am not doing good whatsoever.
I know, man. We both had tough losses, but
it's very, very painful.
And we also have a new co-host with us today. Is Sonny? How you doing, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. And to all the viewers out there, why don't you tell them your favorite team right now?
Well, unlike you guys, my team's actually 2-0 right now because I'm a huge Arizona Cardinals fan.
They're doing really good right now, and I'm actually excited for them. I'm excited to see what Kyler Murray's. It sucks that they're in the NFC West because there's other, Seattle and the Rams are doing just as well. You probably feel better if you're in one of our divisions right now.
Yeah.
But it's just what it is. It's kind of a bad week, but I did pretty well in my leagues in fantasy. I won one league by a point to my roommate right there. And he was pretty pissed about it, so that was fun to kind of gloat about it too.
Nail biter.
Yeah, really close, and it was on the Monday night game too. But before we get into the news, the Atlanta Falcons need help. They need help. They are so bad when it comes to clutching games, and I just can't take it anymore. Like
I gotta ask you, what were they thinking? Do they know the rules? You think they know the rules?
No, they don't know the rules. And like Arthur Blank, the owner, was like, from watching the game, I don't think any of the players know the rules. I'm like, if you don't think they know the rules, then fire your head coach right now.
I mean, we're talking about the kings of the onside kick, and they don't even know their own rules.
Karma. It's karma. It's gonna get you. It's gonna bite you.
Sorry.
It's what are you gonna do? I'm still not over it. Like, I don't even want to watch them next week, but I'm gonna watch them because that's what dedicated fans do. So that's just how it's gonna be. All right,
we've been through it. I've been through the Josh Rosen era. It only gets better.
That's true.
Just stick through it. We'll get better.
Slightly though, slightly. It was the slight Josh Rosen era. This is gonna haunt me for the rest of that, and the Super Bowl is gonna haunt me. I can tell you that. All right, guys. News around the league. Really, it's kind of depressing news. Saquon Barkley ended his season with a torn ACL. Christian McCaffrey is out 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. That's bad news. Courtland Sutton is out for the year for tearing up his knee. But good news, Chris Godwin and Kenny Galladay look probable to start for week 3, so that is some good news. The 49ers, Jimmy G is a high ankle sprain. Along with Tevin Coleman and Raheem Mostert. Tevin Coleman's injury looks a little bit longer than Raheem Mostert's, but Tevin Coleman has a banged-up knee, so it could be multiple weeks. And then Drew Lock has a rotator cuff problem, so we might be seeing Blake Bortles in a Denver Broncos uniform. We'll see how that goes. I can see Sonny's face. That's a bad decision. And that's pretty much it for the news. The most recent thing I did see, though, was first they said Devontae Adams cleared, and now they're saying he might not be clear for week 3. So that's something to you viewers out there you got to keep an eye on, because that means MVS up to bat, and that means Allen Lazard up to bat. So I would keep an eye on that. All right, guys. Fantasy remedies, and we're kind of looking into the waiver wire, but what has happened this week was absolutely awful with Saquon Barkley. I personally, myself, in my Dynasty League, I have Courtland Sutton and Saquon Barkley. And about an hour ago, I had to both put them on IR. So we're going to start with Sonny. If you were giving me advice and all the viewers out there, what do you want me to do, and to all the viewers, if they have one or both of these players?
The most important thing to know is you don't win at the draft. You win through the waiver wires and trades. And we're going to talk about it later today. There's a lot of hidden gems you can find on the waiver wire. So, we saw Devontae Freeman coming into the Giants. We're going to talk about Joshua Kelly later on the start sits portion of the podcast. And we also got a bunch of other guys like perhaps Henderson emerging in the backfield. And you just got to look around, find some trades, find some free agents, see what you can do with your roster. But never give up. You just got to remember that. Can't give up.
So, first up, though, out of the players in the waiver wire, who would you add to kind of fill that void for Saquon? I know you can't really fill Saquon's void, but if there's a guy in the waiver wire right now, who would you try to pick up to fill that piece in your lineup?
That's tough. The Saquon owner, you want Devontae Freeman for the long term. But if I'm 0-2, I'm trying to see someone that can insert in my lineup right now and for the future. So my number one guy would be Joshua Kelly because I think he's already established himself as that Melvin Gordon role in the goal line back who should see plenty of touches this week against a weak Carolina defense. That's number one because I think he's the safest option, a lot of touchdown opportunities. Number two would be Mike Davis, especially in a PPR format. We saw as soon as Christian McCaffrey went out, he was the guy that inserted back in. And then, again, if you're 0-2, I would say McKinnon because he'll get a spot right away. But if you're 1-1, 2-0 somehow, I would say, go with Devontae Freeman and then go with Jerick McKinnon after that. So any of those four guys I think should be able to help you pull it out. And actually another guy I forgot to mention was Darrell Henderson. I would actually put him right after Joshua Kelly because he's someone that was supposed to be the starting running back. He was very talented in college. And I think he could be the best back in that backfield. And if he gets a Todd Gurley-like role, he could have a high ceiling. So that's how I rank it.
I definitely agree with you. And one other back that I would put in there, just in case if it's a deep league or a dynasty league, Jeffrey Wilson. He's kind of a little down there on the 49ers depth chart. We don't really know what's going to go on with these 49er running backs, but he is a probable guy that you can have in your lineup, especially if things go actually terribly for the 49ers running backs. So I would keep an eye on him. He might be a guy that's really low value right now. So when you're on the waiver wire, especially if it's a bidding, and all these guys are bidding, these guys are up to bat, and you have them down below, you can probably get them for no money at all. So
I'm really glad you mentioned that, actually, especially for non-owners. You can get them for virtually free. So, that was a really good one to bring up there because the touchdowns are going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Nate, how would you approach this Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, so look, Sonny put up a great point. Definitely you're going to win leagues through waiver wire pickups, trades. You're going to have a list of backs. You guys named a handful that were already on my mind. So another one, he's just signing with the Giants. He could be a pickup if you don't have him yet. Devontae Freeman could be a solid pickup since Saquon is out. I know they're going to try to fix a few things, and he may not start immediately. I know with the whole COVID thing, they're going to be very protective. So the process takes a little longer. But I really like the Jerick McKinnon. He obviously played really solid for the 49ers. They lost a lot of key pieces. Jerick McKinnon would be a solid pickup, or if not, just to start him as a backup. So the Saquon thing honestly breaks my heart, and I am an Eagles fan, and I don't like any players, but it's just this season in general, besides listing all the players, just this has to be the worst week 2 for injuries in history. It is so sad.
I read something. The IR went up like 50% from the first 2 weeks in 2019 to 2020. So that I don't like seeing that at all, especially just for the players are so excited to come back. Like who really, like in a grand scheme of things, we want all these guys to be healthy and like playing their best and up against the best of the best because that's what, football is. But, it's next man up. And that's also something interesting to watch and something we like to see is who's going to come out. Like, I love Robinson on the Jaguars right now. I don't know what it is about him, but I just love the role he's filling. And he's kind of like calm and relaxed in Jacksonville right now. And I think they're doing a really good job. So I just want to point that out there. So we talked about Saquon. Now, something I want to bring up is with wide receiver, it's easier to find guys on the waiver wire. It's easier to just put a bench piece in. But with Courtland Sutton, how would you guys approach it? Like, what wide receivers are you seeing on the waiver wire right now that you can potentially add? We'll start with Nate this time.
Yeah, so I was looking through a lot of waiver wire pickups, in multiple leagues that I'm in, and the name that kept popping up was Deontay Johnson, who has played very solid for Pittsburgh. And Deontay Johnson, I have his stats. He had about, I think, 57, 97 yards past 2 games at least combined. I'm not too sure right now. Things take forever to load. But him fitting with Ben Roethlisberger in general can make any wide receiver look great, and we all know that. Pittsburgh's a factory for making so. We've seen that, we saw that with Antonio Brown at the time. We see that with Juju. We see that now, Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. Don't forget about him.
Did you see that? Did you see that catch?
Yeah.
He caught it like right at the sideline, kept his balance, and then bolted for a touchdown. I'd watch out for him too.
You know, he's like 100% catch rate too. He's caught like all 3 targets or something crazy like that.
That's great. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I'm loving it that he's doing good right now. So I really him and Deontay Johnson, Washington as well, and the Steelers. We'll see how that. They have a lot of wide receivers that you can honestly pick from. Sonny, who would you pick as a replacement for Courtland Sutton?
Oh, first off, I'm glad you actually brought up Deontay Johnson. That's actually one of the reasons I think Juju's sell high candidate with all the mouths to feed, and Deontay might be the number 1 target in that offense. But going a little deeper, some guys, because I know a lot of leagues that I'm in, Deontay's probably not available. I think Corey Davis is a pretty good pickup. Just with the AJ Brown when he comes back, I just think Tannehill has been so efficient. And Corey Davis, he only had 3 catches. We had that touchdown. I think with Derrick Henry just spreading out that defense, the big plays are always going to be there. But if Julio actually is banged up, Russell Gage is a good guy to keep an eye on. He's been getting a lot of receptions in the past few weeks. And then even like Michael Thomas or like Traquan Smith looked good last night, and N'Keal Harry could take a step forward. So those are 4 guys in deeper leagues to keep an eye on.
I agree with you. And he's not the only Michael Thomas we should be watching out with. Let's look at Mike Thomas, right?
He's actually outproducing. He's outproducing Michael Thomas. Who's the best Mike Thomas in the league right now.
I saw that. I saw that on Instagram. All right. The guy I think I'm going to choose is Keelan Cole on Jacksonville Jaguars. He has produced 2 weeks of consistency in my mind, and he's getting the targets. He had 2 weeks of, fantasy points over like 12 points, I think. He's just consistent. If you want a guy that's going to get over 10 points, I think he's a good addition to have, especially to fill like a role like Courtland Sutton, because he hasn't really been doing the best before he got injured. So my guy I think I'm going to choose is Keelan Cole. Are there any other waiver wires that you guys want to bring up before we get into starter sit?
I mean, it seems like we're all aboard the Jags. I think if Laviska Shenault's available, he's another good one to keep an eye on because he has such a safe floor with his rushing ability, and obviously Gardner Minshew has been amazing. So I guess we're all aboard the Jags hype train.
I don't know why, but I love the Jags.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Jacksonville. Yeah, all that noise that they got out of there. Well, everyone's saying how they're going to be horrible. I mean, I think they lost their last game. Was it 33-30 to Tennessee?
Yeah.
Such a close game.
Very close game.
And Gardner Minshew isn't stacked, with like a CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, or like a Julio Jones. You got DJ Chark. There's another wide receiver. It's very impressive what they're doing there in Jacksonville.
I agree. And, let's not just the wide receivers, but let's give props to Gardner Minshew. He had a game over 20 points. He had 1 interception, but what are you going to do? He's doing really well. He's really good at running when he has to and getting out of bounds. So I really think he's a guy that we should be watching out too. All right, guys, starts and sits for week 3. We'll just give it to Sonny first. Give us your starts and sits. First, we'll just start with the starts of week 3, but list it for us.
Cool. So first off, we're going to go with the quarterback, and we're going to go with Carson Wentz. And Philly fans might like to hear it, but he's in for a big bounce back against Cincinnati. We saw them make Baker Mayfield look like an MVP candidate. And then now you're going to see Carson Wentz, who's going to have more time in the pocket to throw. and maybe hit some deep plays to deep threats, Jalen Rager and Deshaun Jackson with two big bodies in Goddard and Ertz. So I could see a potential shootout where Wentz finally puts up some numbers. And then for wide receivers, I'm going to go with rookie CeeDee Lamb. Both weeks, he's been the second most targeted player in that Dallas offense. And they're playing a Seattle team that gave up career highs to slot receivers Russell Gage and Julian Edelman. So CeeDee Lamb could be in for a big career night for him. And then for tight ends, we're going to keep it going with Jonnu Smith. So they're playing a Minnesota defense that pretty much can't stop anyone. Just last weekend, we saw them give up 111 yards to Mo Alley Cox. So I could see Jonnu Smith having another big day, maybe getting another touchdown. He already had 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. So he might be able to keep it going. And then lastly, for the defense, actually, we're going to get to the running backs too. But for the defense, we got to go with the Buccaneers. They're just an obvious choice. They're playing a Denver team that's pretty much lost everyone on that team. And they could be bringing in Blake Bortles. So, again, start the Buccaneers defense. But for the running backs, we're actually going to go with Joshua Kelly. And no, that doesn't mean bench Eckler. I think you'd start both of them. They're playing a Carolina defense that has given up 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks. And they've given up over 100 scrimmage yards to the lead running back on both teams. So I think Joshua Kelly could see another 20-plus touch performance. And being the goal line back, he can maybe even get multiple touchdowns this weekend.
Nice. Yeah, no, I really like that. I love your Jonnu Smith pick. He's doing an absolute phenomenal job, and I'll talk about him later when we do streamers. I think that's a great addition, and I agree with you. I think it's time Carson Wentz gets a really big game, especially against that Bengals defense that I don't think really has developed yet, and honestly could probably stop the Eagles' offense, in my opinion. I think with the running game and, Miles Sanders and the passing action with it, I think Carson Wentz will definitely have a big game. I will start now my starts for week 3. I got Gesicki. Gesicki had a great game against the Bills last week, and he had 130 yards and a touchdown, and it kind of was getting close towards the end. Just like Jonnu Smith just tore the Jags defense, I think Gesicki could do the same exact thing. I think it's his time to shine. He did really well last year and put up some great numbers when it came to the last 5 games of the season. I definitely think that he will be one of my starters for this week. And I just mentioned him earlier, but Keelan Cole. He had 58 yards, 1 touchdown. He caught 6 of his 7 targets, which I really like to see. I think he could be really good in PPR leagues, and he's very consistent. I just think it's one of those guys that's really safe that you can put on the board. Minshew really likes throwing to him, so I'm going to keep him as a start for this week. And I'm going to have N'Keal Harry. Finally, he has done something this week or past week. He had 8 receptions for 12 targets, 72 yards against Seattle, which is a pretty hard defense to do it against. I think Cam probably honestly likes throwing it to him now. And, PPR league, I think that's beneficial that he had 8 receptions. So I definitely am looking towards him. And they're playing the Raiders. That could potentially be a shootout, that N'Keal Harry can have with the Raiders. I just think it'll be a high-scoring affair, and I think he's a good addition to have in week 3. And then Mo Alley Cox, I'm telling you, start him. 5 of 6 with targets, and he had 111 yards. Philip loves targeting his tight end, and right now I just don't think Jack Doyle's up to bat with his injury. He's not really going to recover that fast. To be honest with you, he's getting a little old, in my opinion. And Mo Alley Cox is physical. He's tall. He's big, but he's athletic. And I really think he can fit well in this Colts defense. So he's going to be my final start. And I'm just trying to pick, guys that you wouldn't necessarily suggest, but I think he could really have a good time to do it. Sonny, what do you think? Do you like any of those guys? You a little hesitant?
Oh, no, I love those picks, actually. I loved what I thought from N'Keal Harry, this Sunday night. And I think even when Doyle comes back, I think Mo Alley Cox should still see plenty of playing time. And honestly, I think he should remain the starting tight end. So, I love those picks.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I really hope that he is. I'm still a little hesitant on the Colts offense. It's just like 1 week it was pretty bad, and then against the Vikings it was actually really good. So I just want to see how that plays out. But, I mean, I think they potentially can have a really good week. We'll see how that plays out. Nate has lost his connection, so for now we can't hear his starts. So we'll just go to our sits. Sonny, why don't you list your sits for week 3?
So one of the sits of the week, I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon. I know he's been pretty matchup proof the past 2 weeks, but with all the injuries to the Denver offense, I think you can pretty much key in on Melvin Gordon, and this is finally the week where he slows down. For quarterbacks, this might be kind of surprising, but I'm actually going to go with Josh Allen. I really think that the Bills haven't had, any real competition. They played a poor Jets defense, and they played a Miami defense that could be sneaky, but let's remember they lost their top corner, Byron Jones. And, I think Stephon Diggs, if he's getting shadowed by Ramsey, it'll be a slow day for both of them. Which, going back to that, I also think Diggs could be a good sell high target, considering he's had easy matchups both weeks. And, they're going to play a tough NFC West where they see Ramsey, Peterson, and they're also going to see Gilmore, twice this year. So I think I'm going to fade the Bills a little bit. And then, again, Gronkowski, if you're playing him, like, what are you doing at this point? I think he should be sit every weekend.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there.
Yeah. And then another shocker, actually, the Baltimore defense, they're probably first or second, but you got to know if you're ever playing the Chiefs, you pretty much got to bench that defense. So those are my sits of the week.
I totally agree with you. And going back to it's funny because my sit is also Gronk. Like, please sit him. He had 0 points against the Panthers, who arguably don't have a great defense. I don't see any relevance to start him. You could do OJ Howard, who only had like 1 point, and then Cameron Brate. I'd rather just go with any other tight ends right now. Like, there's a lot of tight ends at low value that you can honestly pick up or just, start that you might have on your bench. Like, I've seen some people have Hayden Hurst on their bench, and he was a performer as a tight end on people's bench. Like, start him. Don't really start Gronk. Peyton Barber. It looks to me Antonio Gibson will probably be the guy. He only had 1 carry for 1 yard. And I know it was against the Cardinals, who gave him a beating, and they probably just didn't have, the right setup and the offensive scheme. But I think Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love will probably be the guys. They want, more explosive, catching back ability guys, and I don't think sorry, my headset came out. And I don't think Peyton Barber will be the guy for that. And especially against the Browns, I just don't think he'll be the one. And Julio Jones, I'm actually listing as a sit. I hate to say as a Falcons fan, but against the Bears do have a tough defense. And Julio was sluggish against the Cowboys because he's injured. He has a hamstring injury, and he's playing through it. And I'm worried sometimes when he's playing through those injuries because they'll take him out for 50% of the snaps. And he'll probably only get limited to probably have 8 to 10 points. And when you got a guy like Julio, you want something more than that. He only had 4 points last week. So he's probably not someone that I would want to start for week 3 against the Bears. And I want to bring up your sit, Josh Allen. I really like that sit because I've been saying that. They've just been playing the Jets in Miami. Wait till they play the Rams. And I think when you watch Josh Allen, when he's confident, and he runs and he throws the ball. But there's some questionable throws that he's had. And questionable throws to the secondary where if you got Jalen Ramsey up there, he's going to pick that off. And I really think that's a good pick.
Well, see, I was going to say the other thing is we actually saw that Miami defense get pressure Josh Allen quite a bit. Now you got Aaron Donald, in his face.
I agree.
He's prone to make some turnovers, so there's a lot of scoring opportunities for that defense.
I agree. That one play before Josh Allen threw to Brown in the end zone, it was a very questionable pass. He almost passed it to one of their cornerbacks on the previous play, and his wide receiver had miscommunication with him. I still think there's going to be that miscommunication, especially against a better secondary. So that's probably one of the best sits that I've heard for week 3 because, that's something not necessarily people would honestly, point out with. So we got our sits, we got our starts. Is there anybody else that you want to mention for week 3 in a sit or start?
No, I think we'll get to the streamers later on if you want to jump into that one.
Yeah. All right. Nate has not come back to us, so I guess we'll go to the fantasy streamers. People that have kind of like sprung out. And Sonny, you're gonna leave us off with it. Who are your fantasy streamers?
Well, first off, we're going to go with the quarterback position in Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill hasn't missed a step since stepping in Week 7 last season. He's thrown, 4 touchdowns in 2 games. He's on a historic pace. He's got big targets and Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis, and he's only going to get better when A.J. Brown gets back. But this week they're playing a Minnesota defense. We saw them Week 1 give up 4 touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying Tannehill's going to get 4 touchdowns, but, there's some big play opportunities with that defense. You pretty much always got to start anyone playing against Minnesota. And then for the tight end streamer of the week, I'm going to go with Drew Sample. And, I know a lot of people might not know who that is, but he's actually someone the Bengals spent a second-round pick on. But we saw that on full display on Thursday night when as soon as he came into the game, he actually got 7 receptions. And Joe Burrow actually targeted the tight ends 15 times that game before Uzama came out. So, Philly just recently gave up 3 touchdowns to Tyler Higbee. They gave up a touchdown to Logan Thomas the week before. So there's someone that can't guard the tight end. So I could expect Drew Sample to have a big day and put up some touchdowns. And then going back to the Josh Allen Bills conversation earlier, the Rams are widely available. And I think people are afraid of playing the Rams defense because they see the Bills and all the high scoring opportunities. But again, they haven't played anyone like a good defense. And we saw the Rams hold the Cowboys in check Week 1 to only 17 points. So when you got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, there's always potential for some big turnovers and sacks. But those are my 3 streamers of the week for deeper leagues.
Yeah, and I really like, with Ryan Tannehill, it's a change that he has, had from Miami to now Tennessee. It's just a system that fits him. I feel like he feels comfortable, and he likes that he can rely on Derrick Henry with the run game so that he can set up the play-action pass. He loves the play-action pass, and I think that really fits with, Jonnu Smith, which is my streamer. He had 4 receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown Week 1. Okay, not bad. He's getting better. And then he had 4 receptions, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's around 25 fantasy points. That was outrageous. And, it was a close game, and I just think they love playing off that play-action pass, that he's just a physical guy that can stretch out the field. And once A.J. Brown gets back, this is where I'm kind of like, is he going to help Jonnu Smith, or is he going to hurt him? Is he going to take away the target share volume, or is he going to help him? And I think people realize, like, Jonnu Smith, like, they might have to cover him pretty well, that it can open up A.J. Brown, or other way around. They're like, all right, A.J. Brown's on the field now. We got a guy that's really fast and speedy. We got to, hold back, make sure that we got him, and that leaves Jonnu Smith open in the middle of the field. So, either one of those can happen, but I think I could see him as a streamer. I got some high hopes for this guy. He already has 3 touchdowns. I really hope that he does well. One of my other streamers. Now, this is a guy that we all know is a great quarterback, and I'm picking Aaron Rodgers because people were doubting him in fantasy going in the beginning of this year. Like, they took him late. And this Packers offense is insane right now, whether it be Devontae Adams one week or Aaron Jones another week. I just love having Aaron Rodgers right now on my fantasy team. In Week 1, he had 30 points, and then Week 2, he had close to 20. Not as good, but, it was more of Aaron Jones' day, and I think once, next week, I think it will be Aaron Rodgers again. And this guy has really been helping me survive in Dynasty because the rest of my team hasn't been doing that well. But when this guy puts up the points, it's really helping me, and I think he'll be consistent throughout the season. And that is my second guy. And then my third guy, fantasy streamer that I'm going to have, Hayden Hurst. Like I said, this guy was on the bench in a lot of people's leagues that I was seeing. They weren't really sure about it because in Week 1 he really didn't do anything. But Matt Ryan loves his tight ends, whether it be Tony Gonzalez or Austin Hooper. But this might, in fact, be the fastest tight end that he's ever had. Like, we know Tony Gonzalez had better hands, and we know Austin Hooper is probably more physical and bigger. But this is probably the most athletic and fastest tight end I've ever seen Matt Ryan, throwing the ball to. So this could be really beneficial. We've seen, if you already got double coverage on Julio Jones, and now Calvin Ridley, who's outstanding, you might want to be double covering him right now. That just leaves Hayden Hurst in the middle of the field, wide open sometimes. And, like, especially against Dallas, he was wide open on that play because they had to cover the other wide receiver. So I expect him to get more red zone targets. probably 7 targets a game. He can easily score over 10 points every weekend, especially the way the Falcons defense has been playing. So, there could be a lot of trash points there with Hayden Hurst. So I really feel like he can be an exceptional player coming in this season. And those are my fantasy streamers. It's been a pretty interesting fantasy week. If there was a game that you wanted to point out for next week, fantasy-wise, that you're really interested in, what would it be?
I am actually excited to see the Saints Green Bay game, actually, and I'm hoping everyone's healthy, but I was actually going to ask you, if Devontae Adams does miss, do you still feel comfortable starting Aaron Rodgers against a tough Saints defense?
That is a good question. And the reason is my backup is Sam Darnold. And before I get that, I should answer this. Should I pick up Russell Gage? Sonny, what do you think? Should he pick up Russell Gage? And it kind of depends on the context of how many, teams are in your league. Oh, yeah. Look who came back from the dead. Oh, his mic's
say, in 12 plus team formats, even with the ones with 3 receiver sets, I think he's a great pickup. But I do think he has a lot more value in PPR formats. So in PPR, yes, but in non-PPR formats, I would lean more towards like a Corey Davis type of player. But he should have enough options to seek value.
I would have to agree with you. Russell Gage probably would, be better in PPR formats. And, Matt Ryan is consistently giving him targets and a share of those targets. So, yeah, I would agree. I would pick him up in a PPR format rather than a standard format. Nate, we were just getting to, having fantasy streamers, those guys that you have pretty high hopes for and that will consistently do well for the rest of the year. Why don't you give out your fantasy streamers for week 3? Oh, Nate, you're muted. You're muted. I'll let him get to that.
Man, I thought I was the new guy.
Yeah, no, he's been having connection problems, but
Exactly.
All right, you're good to go. Fantasy streamers.
God, of course. Yeah. So real quick, if it's possible, can I hear one of your guys? Because I feel bad. Like I missed a lot.
We were just one of my fantasy streamers was Jonnu Smith, and Sonny, you can list one of yours.
Yeah, so my tight end was actually Drew Sample.
Oh,
and then so what position? We'll let you know if we had him or not. We'll just say yes or no. We'll speed this up real quick. So who are your guys? I'll tell you if you had him or not.
Yeah, so I looked through a few. And man, this was I had like a list, had like an entire list, and I was thinking, fantasy streamers. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. Antonio Gibson.
Basically, those guys that you think will be consistent. Going throughout.
I would honestly say, and I'm going to narrow it down. Lots of lag, I can already tell. Washington running back Antonio Gibson. I believe he can be a lot of touches. He's the main guy there in Washington. They love him. There's a reason why, of course, they got rid of Adrian Peterson in the offseason. So for me, it would be Antonio Gibson, quick and easy.
All right, Antonio Gibson. I was just talking to him for the start and sit. I said to sit Peyton Barber because I do honestly think Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love, I think they're going to be the heart of that offense for the, Washington football team. So I think that will probably happen. So that's a good one. As we have a comment, need a replacement for Sutton. As we listed earlier, I said Keelan Cole. Sonny, what did you say for a replacement for Sutton?
So we got some main ones. Corey Davis would be my main one that should be available. And then actually think about Sutton too. KJ Hamler got some targets. I wouldn't feel good about starting him yet, but the Sutton owners might want to pick him up just to keep him on your bench to see what they got too. Yeah, assuming Judy's already rostered, which he should be, because I could see him having a lot more targets going further.
I definitely agree with you there. And Nate, we were just talking about it, interesting fantasy game, and he brought up the Packers and the Saints, and he asked me if I felt comfortable starting Aaron Rodgers if Devontae Adams isn't playing. And I really think that I still think he'll put up 20 points somehow. Let that be either through Allen Lazard MVS or Aaron Jones in the passing game. Do I feel as comfortable? No. But the way the Saints played, maybe they'll, get that defense a little bit better. But if they start the running game, I don't think they were that good at stopping Josh Jacobs. And if Aaron Jones goes through them, that opens up the passing game, and it might become a shootout. And in that case, I think Aaron Rodgers would probably put up around 20 fantasy points, which I'm comfortable with having. He might not have the biggest game, but I'll be comfortable because my backup's Sam Darnold. So I'm definitely starting Aaron Rodgers over Sam Darnold in that case.
Oh, yeah.
But, Nate, what kind of exciting game are you expecting week 3 when it comes to, fantasy-wise?
Yeah, exciting game. This one's probably not – I don't know. I don't know if I would say super exciting, like, going to be on the edge of your couch. But I'm going back with Jacksonville with Miami because Gardner Minshew, once again, has something to prove to people who slept on him during the draft. He wants to prove that he can be your number one quarterback. And maybe, obviously, you have, a lot of other options. You might have, of course, like a Patrick Mahomes or a Carson Wentz. But look at the guys that are putting up numbers. Keep an eye on them. They play Miami. Pretty bad defense, even with picking up Byron Jones and a few other key defensive players. But I would definitely focus on Jacksonville and Miami this upcoming week.
All right, the Battle of Florida. I love it. That would probably be an interesting game to have. Mine's probably going to be, and it's probably not so much as – it could be fantasy relevant in a bad way, is going to be the Bills and the Rams. Like Sonny pointed out earlier in the episode, I want to see, I'm in Bills territory right now, and they're saying, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to win. I'm like, all right, you played Miami and the Jets. All right, let me see what happens when you play against the Rams, who are on fire right now, 2-0. They have a better secondary. I want to see what Josh Allen can do in that game. I want to see if Singletary can get more fantasy points, honestly, because I really need him to. We'll see if Diggs keeps up that consistency. And then on the other side, let's see what that running back, duo has, in Henderson and Malcolm Brown. And we'll see how that plays out. And, of Cooper Kupp. And there's just a lot of fantasy options. And I'm really interested to see how that goes and, honestly, who wins. So that's probably going to be my most exciting game that I want to look forward to. And it's funny because we all really didn't mention the Chiefs and the Ravens. Monday night, how do we not mention that game? That's going to be
scratch everything we said. That's number one on the list.
That's going to be a good game. Do you guys think
it's going to be a game?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a high-scoring affair, but do any of you guys think it's probably going to be more low-scoring and more intense in that fashion?
I
you guys just think it's going to be a shootout?
High-scoring.
It's going to be
it's going to be 40s.
The Chiefs and the Rams from a couple years ago.
Oh, my gosh, it's going to be insane.
That was a Monday night game, right? I believe that was a Monday night game. The Chiefs and the Rams.
It was ago. 50? Both teams scored around 50 points.
It was crazy. It's probably one of the best games I've seen in the regular season. That was absolutely insane. I love that.
More actually, we're talking about shootouts. We got to mention Seattle, Dallas too. If you're a DFS player, start everyone in that game. I talked about CD Lamb earlier about being my start of the week, but again, that's going to be a huge fantasy game. Keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, and I especially think Russell Wilson's got something to really prove this year, and I want to see how he performs. A lot
of MVP talks for him.
Oh yeah, I'm loving it. I love Russell Wilson. He's probably one
great pickup
in the NFL. So
yeah, I got love for Russ, and I have to love him, but we got to mention Kyler Murray for MVP. I got to keep the viewers in on that one.
I got him.
Maybe not this year, but I'll see in the coming years. See how he develops, but we'll see. We'll see how this. He's doing great.
I love it with my fantasy team.
Falcons fans hop on the Cardinals bandwagon. We got.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I think.
Yeah, oh my god.
I don't want to be a Falcons fan anymore. I'm going to be a Cardinals fan this year, and then since no one really cares about the Jags, I'll root for the Jags because one of my best friends is a Jags fan. I always root for them every year. So I hope the Jags and Gardner Minshew do well this season. All right, guys, that is all that we have. Oh. Bengals. Bengals greater than
it's possibly. Right. It's
it could possibly happen. I really hope not.
You don't. I don't. I don't.
I hope not for your sake. Yeah. I hope not for your sake. That's what I meant. But yeah, no, I feel bad for you, man. But feel worse for me. All right, my game was pretty dreadful. All right, guys, that is all we have for the Fantasy Aces podcast. Make sure to catch us live on Instagram and on Twitch and on Spotify, Inside the Hashes. Also follow our Twitter handle at Inside Hashes. Make sure to check out our website, InsideTheHashes.com. You can check out our other podcasts, Air It Out, and the RPO podcast. That is all that we have for you guys today. Enjoy week 3. Let's hope there's not a lot of injuries, and stay safe out there. And we'll see you guys next week at 7 p.m. See you guys.
Peace.